And I am live. Good morning. Hello, Lee and Renee. Hi there, guys. How you doing? And Mark, good morning or afternoon, or wherever you are, whatever country you're in. I hope everybody is well. So I'm going to babble a little bit. I am going to do two live streams today, completely unrelated to each other. So um, if you are not interested in the topic of the second one, please don't watch because it's going to be pretty harsh, I think. And if you want to see a different side of things, then watch the second one, which will be I think at 1 o'clock today. Completely different subject matter. So I'm just babbling a little bit, giving people a few seconds to join in. What I was going to do after I take a sip of my morning is talk about GTII, the status of things, what occurred recently, what's coming up, what we can expect, and I'll go from there. Before I start that, I just wanted to raise a couple of things that occurred to me this morning. So today's focus might have a little bit of a political focus because the second live stream is kind of a politically oriented live stream. So what's the only government, I'm referring to the US, of course, now. So what's the only governmental organization that will regularly listen to you as a citizen? The answer, of course, is the NSA, who secretly listen. What happens when you give a male politician erectile dysfunction medication? They get taller. When asked, when women in the DC area were asked by a random pollster if they would have sex with Bill Clinton, 86% of them said, not again. And last but not least, politicians in diapers have one thing in common. They need to be changed regularly and for the same reason. All right. So what I was going to talk about was GTII. I think the last update I did about a week ago, maybe slightly more, but not much more than that. So we had the last hearing. In the last hearing, I guess I didn't do that. The last hearing, which was about a few days ago, it was this week. Last hearing, yes, it was this week. As a matter of fact, I was in a different courthouse and I was driving to a trial and I participated in the hearing on my phone in my car at the other courthouse. So the idea of the hearing was the receiver picking a new auditor, which they did. It's the Info or Inferita or something like that. I forgot the name of it, but I disclosed it before. It was the one that was based in Florida. There's another hearing in 30 days. So that was the purpose of the hearing. It wasn't very substantive beyond that, other than that the receiver said, and I'll get into a little bit about that. The receiver said that he had contacted them. That was the one that he deemed the best, that he was hoping he'd get a better deal on it. And that was it. And there'll be a further status conference on this particular issue in 30 days. Now, if I don't know if you recall, but when the receiver last reported, he reported that as of now, there is only $10,000, or at least as of the time he reported, there was only $10,000 sitting in the bank account of the receiver for GTII. Now, it was suggested that there are some pending or motions will be filed soon to resolve some issues that will bring in a significant amount of cash. What amount of cash that is, I do not know. What's significant is, I don't know. Whose benefit those monies will go to, I know. I do know that. My impression is, and it's just my impression because this is all opinion, of course, is that there's significant monies that are owed to the attorneys. There will be monies that have to be paid for the auditors, and I'm sure there's other bills. So I think there are outstanding bills of significance. So I think there's a significant amount of cash that needs to come in to pay all those debts. And I think that's kind of part of the issue. And I don't think directly that benefits shareholders. I don't think it hurts shareholders, but I think it just kind of it is what it is. The monies that are coming in will be used for purposes to pay the professionals, which we need, of course, to complete the process, but don't be fooled that it's coming for the benefit of shareholders directly. So just to keep that in mind. So without that money, I don't know how we would pay the auditors, although in the last hearing, I think it was the last hearing, the receiver seemed confident that he'd be able to raise the money. So we'll take him at face value and see how it plays out. But after the last hearing, where the receivers where it was indicated the receiver was going to use the Florida firm, which he said specifically that he'd been using them for about 2 years. Might have said over 2 years. I don't remember if he said 2 years or over 2 years. So that would bring us back to 2024. Receiver wasn't the receiver came into existence, excuse me, I think September of 24. So it appears that he was working with this accounting firm in Florida prior to the time he was appointed. So it struck me, that struck me as interesting. So I sent an email on the 14th, so it would have been Thursday, and I haven't gotten a response back to this email, although I got a response back to another email, which leads me to believe that this is not being responded to intentionally. And there may be some basis. I'm not saying there's anything, evil about the non-response, but it seems like the non-response is intentional. So I sent this to the attorney for the receiver, short and sweet. And we can talk about the content. And it's to Dylan Siciliano, who's the one of the attorneys for the receiver. Good morning. Hope you are well. You hear my inflection and all my good spirits here and how nicely my email sounds. It is obvious that the receiver does not intend to do any transaction with AI-versity, but has refused to tell the court that. I believe that, first, that failure to advise the court lacks transparency, but most importantly, it discourages others from making offers. And just to interject here, when we go to court, they talk about transparency all the time. So that's a big thing they put their hat on. And I'll just continue, then I'll go back and we'll kind of talk about it. I intend to do a video today, and I didn't do it today because I wanted to I try to be fair. So if I send something out, even though I send it out at 7:17 a.m. Pacific time, I kind of want to give somebody an opportunity. Maybe they're busy. So I don't want to send something out right away. So I said I was going to do a video today, even though I knew I might wait a little bit, because I'm being fair, because if they have a response, then I want to get a response. So I intend to do a video today where I inform GTI shareholders of my request and shall also advise the court in a filing. So, and I'll get to that. On a separate issue, where are we with follow-up with Alpine and the DTCC? Finally, yesterday, the receiver stated he'd been working with the Florida auditor for over 2 years. What logic, therefore, was used to not use them from the start? Did not make sense. Have a good day and be well. Then I sent a second email out where I asked him about, again, Alpine and DTCC. So let me go through these quickly. So the AI-versity transaction, everything that's been reported by the receiver in proceedings and elsewhere suggests that deal is dead. But it's still pending before the court. And anybody who was interested or had considered proceeding with a deal knows that deal's before the court. I don't understand why the receiver doesn't, if they're not going to do the deal, then say it, clear the decks, and encourage and invite others to come make offers or offer transactions. I know if I had a deal and I knew there was already an existing deal the court had under its jurisdiction, I wouldn't make a great effort until that was cleared up. So it doesn't make any sense to me that in my opinion, that the receiver doesn't clear the decks and invite other officers. I don't even see it in his Twitter account. I don't see any kind of correspondence. I don't see him soliciting offers. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me. Again, I have a lot of concerns. I've raised a lot of questions. This just another one, because again, they talk about transparency all over the place, and here it doesn't seem, unless they're like unless what they said before was inaccurate or has changed dramatically, which I think they would have a duty to tell us that it changed dramatically. I would think that they should clear the deck so everybody knows there's no deal pending, so that if anybody wants to do a deal, they can easily go before the court and present it. Doesn't make sense otherwise. So that's my opinion about that. I said that I intended to do a video and tell the shareholders that. That's what I'm doing now. And I will advise the court in a filing. That's what I'm going to do. I will be filing a brief with the court asking for the status of the AI versity. I'm going to tell the court this is exactly what I'm saying to you. It doesn't make everything the receiver has said suggests that that deal is dead. They're just blocking any further transaction, and doesn't make sense since they clamor about transparency, why it has not been done to this point in time. Sometimes I will make a live stream and miraculously things change miraculously. So let's see if that's another thing. But I intend to advise the court. I'll do it on Monday probably. Advise the court of my concerns. Issue number 2, on a separate issue, where are we with follow with Alpine and DTCC? So the understanding is on Tuesday, there's a motion pending before the court in Vegas, asking for the Receivers Council to be allowed to expand the investigation to look at Alpine and DTCC and to investigate the shorting of Alpine. That may extend to other tickers, because part of this pursuit involves the DTCCCC, and obviously the DTCCCC, who has got a very big portfolio, may have information on all kinds of other short issues related to other tickers like MMTLP or whatever. Might be a lot. I don't know the breadth of the investigation, but certainly it is an important issue, and I will let the court know that also. I'll appear on the 19th, and I will let the court know that the shareholders support any investigation into the short, what happened, etc. Separately, I think it was disclosed publicly, and I think I did a video about it. Apparently, Reichman, the guy that the receiver basically attributed most of the misconduct to, had apparently 15, I think it was 15, I think that's what the receiver said, 15 accounts at Alpine, all with concentrated positions in GTII. And we know that between September, I think it's 2022, 2 weeks, they start off, this one really gets to me. Somebody put up 60 grand at the end of 2 weeks. That's 60,000 bucks of GTI stock became worth 10. And these are rough numbers, but think about this. This would be a good transaction if you could do it. Even the Congress can't even do this kind of this work. But let's say you started off with $60,000 and you invested in a stock, and 2 weeks later you sold that stock, and that $60,000 now was worth $10.8 million. You would say that was a good transaction, and that's a good return. And if you could repeat that, you'd be richer than Elon Musk. So apparently in September of 2022, using apparently some instrumentality related to or through or connected to Alpine, and perhaps with the assistance or connected with or observation or lack of attention of DTCC, these transactions occurred, and somebody, I'll let you guess who, profited 10.8 million minus 60,000, which still leaves you close to 10.8 million. So if in fact, I'm throwing this out now, you have to sometimes to resolve issues, to move forward again, especially since money is needed. You sometimes have to make deals with parties that have responsibility, liability, etc., for various reasons. Because sometimes it's just too costly to litigate. As you can see in this case, we are like the U.S. Seems like we've incurred more debt than we have money. So there's obviously reasons why you resolve disputes because of all kinds of financial reasons. And I'm waiting and I'm anticipating that we're going to get a settlement. This is what I'm expecting. I think we're going to get a settlement with Reichman. Reichman's going to somehow pull money out of his condo that he seemingly bought with GTII money. That money will then flow back into the into the receivership estate where the professionals can get paid. And there'll be some kind of release, I think, of Reichman. So even though Reichman is a huge, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, it's a huge scumbag based upon what the receiver finds, I smell a deal coming. I will evaluate the deal and certainly express my discontent with Reichman getting anything about it, but I understand the practicalities also. So I'll have to wait and see the deal. And again, if it's in the best interest of GTII, I will just hold my nose. But I'm concerned, especially in light of the most recent details about his involvement with the 15 accounts at Alpine. I'm concerned about him getting anything at this point in time. He certainly doesn't deserve anything, but again, that's an issue. Whether he will have to be paid is a different issue. And I know it's disgusting, but that's the way it is. So I'm just going to throw it out there and we'll see, because I'm anticipating, because some of the cash has to come in from somewhere. The attorneys really don't care in the bottom line. Do they care if Reichman gets punished or gets away with this stuff? Not really. They're doing their job, but they most want to get paid. So the money coming in my opinion, will be more important than the disgusting nature of resolving anything with Reichman, that he would get anything out of this transaction, especially with the newly disclosed information about Alpine at DTCC and the 15 accounts and the $10.8 million. Continuing on, finally, and this is my question. Yesterday, the receiver stated he had been working well with the Florida auditor for over 2 years. What logic, therefore, was used to not use them from the start? It doesn't make any sense. So I don't get it. The receiver, was like, praising the work product of this auditor in Florida, but chose not to use them when they chose to stay with Fortune, who they had to fire, and they chose Barton, who's basically just dumped them in the end. What logic then, what judgment was used to not use an auditor that he'd been working with, that he was happy with, that he specifically said wouldn't dump them? In the hearing, he said, they're not going to just dump us in the end. Well, if that was the case, why didn't you use them in the first place? Again, another, in my opinion, a poor decision by the auditor without any explanation. Now, the court really isn't interested in attributing responsibility for mistakes, etc., because the court is more interested in getting everything completed, completing the receivership, and moving forward, which I understand. So the receiver generally kind of, in my opinion, skates without any responsibility. I don't think they get called out for their inept handling of certain aspects of the receivership. Again, my opinion. And here's just another, nobody questioned him as to what happened, why you made this selection. So Tuesday's the next hearing on the 19th. I will apprise everybody of the Alpine DTCC. I would expect then depositions to follow, hopefully. where there can be inquiries made. I will certainly participate in those and report back. I will appear at the next hearing regarding the status of the receivership. I will file a brief about the AI-versity deal, what's going on, and encourage the receivership and the court to push that one way or the other so we can get a deal done. I will, that's about it. I don't know, have much more to offer other than that today, but I think that brings you up to speed. So Tuesday's the next hearing. I expect discovery thereafter with regard to Alpine and DTCC. We'll know more about the auditor in 30 days because we should be well underway their engagement. I think at the last, not the last hearing, but the hearing before this, the receiver suggested that from that point, although it may have been from the point the auditor began, that everything should be completed, including the most recent audit for the current year or the 2025 year in a total of 120 days. So we've already had, I don't know, 30 days theoretically. It may only be 5, but we're on our way to the end. Now, the receiver has given other estimates of time. They've been miserably inaccurate. So hopefully this estimate is also not miserably inaccurate. You would think by now that the receiver would be able to provide estimates of time frames, especially in areas where you know that there's going to be questions like the timing of the audit. But he said 120 days, so we're going to keep him to it. I'll reference it in my briefing also so that nobody forgets what the receiver says. And hopefully it'll be done within 120 days, and we'll go from there. So that's it. That's all I got. That's all the news that's fit to print. Hope everybody's well. I'll bring everybody up to speed on Tuesday of anything new that I think of. If anybody else wants to add anything like Renee, etc., feel free to look at Renee's tweets, mine, etc. Anybody else that has information, please post, advise us. Everybody else, have a great day. Be well. Take care of yourselves. If you want to see me wipe out politicians on both sides of the aisle, see you later. Otherwise, have a great day. See you soon. Take care. Be well. And that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got today. Take care.